Welcome, everybody.
Good evening. Welcome to the Paranormal Encyclopedia without Kevin Mears.
Yes.
Well, actually, no, he's running late. So tonight we're starting off with me, Brian McKinley.
And he's the grandfather of vampire fiction. No, wait, he's the godfather of vampire fiction.
Yes,
which is just as good, but you could be considered the godfather, the grandfather, the every father, one way or the other.
Oh,
the all father.
It's gonna be this night.
It's gonna be that night. Yes. Gonna make Gene laugh himself to death, and then we'll have another vampire in the studio. And of course, I'm Baron Voltage, recreational hypnotist at a small medium at large. No, I'm not a dwarf. And we're also joined by
our lovely producer Beth.
Yes.
Yes, and tonight we have a special guest who is having difficulties with connecting with us from Skype for some reason. Jean. She apparently it's not coming up under our show. It's coming under one of the other show's names for some reason.
Ah, how peculiar.
Just start a dial phone.
She did, and it says it comes up under Animal House.
What number is she dialing?
The number that's usually on the screen. That's the problem.
609-807-2492.
That's what I gave her.
Tell her to dial again. I remember when I once tried calling in, I was having the same problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one that I gave her, too. Cause,
Coming up under Alma.
yeah, 609-807-2492,
It's under Ruby.
right?
Yeah, yep.
Well,
Dial it on her phone.
I'm going to try it just to make sure that it should be working.
in the meantime, we can talk about our wonderful sponsor, Audible.
Yes. For those of you that are a bit on the go and don't really have time to be able to sit and enjoy the tactile sensation of opening up a book, you can actually enrichment as well as enjoyment through audible.com. Several thousands of audiobooks are available. All of Brian's books are on there.
Yes.
Tons of reference materials left and right. You can learn anything from a nice little Audible book. They even got the collective works of Anne Rice. Dang it, I can't even say that and have Kevin cringe at it because, but yeah, right. There
You
you
could
go.
say Stephanie Meyer and make us all cringe.
Oh yeah, Stephanie Meyer's collective.
Okay, on both of you, I'm getting the ruler out. I
See,
swear.
there you go.
I'm getting the yardstick.
It's always a great thing. But Audible, you know what? The thing is they have tons of titles available, several genres, not just the paranormal. Anything you could possibly think of, I guarantee it, they've got a book for it out there.
Oh yeah. Listen
And-
while working out, jogging, driving.
Exactly. And you know what? The thing is they have it in variable formats for you to be able to listen to. And you know what? If you sign up, you might be able to actually pick up a free book. If you sign up on a trial, audible.com/paranormale.
Yeah.
And you know what? Give it a try. You know what? Your first book's free. And you don't have to return it. You don't got to turn it in, none of that. It's yours to keep, you know,
Sorry.
if you
Gene,
decide to keep
did-
on going in.
Jane, did we get a connection or?
No, I thought I heard
I told her
a
to
ring.
try. Yeah,
I heard a ring,
we
ring,
heard
ring.
a ring. Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, just give it a shot. I guarantee you won't regret it.
Yeah.
Now,
Or Skype, like you're supposed to.
as you can see, we're having some
Oh, okay.
communicado issues.
Yes.
However, we're going to be talking to this very wonderful woman once technical issues are resolved, and then once we manage to get that squared away,
I told her to call on her phone.
as well as variable subject topics and discussion. So, Brian,
Yes.
I gave her
what
the
do you know about psychics?
Very little.
There we go.
This is our hello.
Oh, Amy.
Hi, this is yes. Hi. How
Ah,
are you?
we have connection. Huzzah.
We have reached the other world.
Sorry about that, Amy. Apparently, Skype to Skype doesn't work on this particular version of Skype that we have here. So
It's very muddled on my end to be able to hear you. I've been trying to call with the Skype and it just keeps ringing. It acts like it's going to connect, but it just rings on that end. So I don't know what the.
Yeah, apparently it's the phone that you have to use rather than Skype. I always thought
Can
it
you
was
hear
Skype.
me? Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
we
we
can.
can hear you
Coming in
fine.
loud and clear.
Okay.
So tell us a little about yourself. Tell us about a little about yourself.
Is there anything else that I can do on Skype that might help? If you want to do it that way, or do you just want to do it this way?
We can do it this way. This is perfectly fine, and
Yeah.
we actually have people calling on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But Kevin, who is
Because the female voice right now, I can't hear at all. It's very muffled. I don't know if that's on your
You
end
might
or
have
my
to
end.
talk
I
right
don't
into
know
the-
why it would be on my end, but
Okay, can you hear me better now?
now I can. Thank you.
Okay. It was the angle of the mic. Sorry about that. So Kevin, who is our main host and is unfortunately not here right now, he's going to be in a little later. Usually has the guests introduce themselves, what they do, and then things like that. So if you want to go ahead.
Tell us about yourself and tell us all the awesomeness that is you.
Yeah.
Did we lose her?
Can
Amy,
you say that again? Because you're cutting out.
I think it's a connection. Where's she calling from?
Washington State.
That might be why.
So tell us a little about yourself.
I can't hear either of you. Can we try the connection again to see if it will come in clearer? Because you keep cutting out, and I know it's not on my end because I'm in the same place I always am when I'm talking on the phone ever, and there's never an issue. So can we just try it one more time of me calling and see if we get a clearer
Okay.
connection?
Go right ahead.
Not a
Amy.
Yeah.
problem.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That part came in loud and clear.
You know
Yeah.
what? Of course, it's the time I actually recruit somebody for the show to
Yeah.
come on that, you know.
Well, apparently we're cutting out on her end.
Don't blame yourself.
It's all about,
Location, connection, and everything.
connection, location. More than anything else in show business, it's always about that two key bits: location and connection.
Isn't there a song about that?
Psychic connection.
If there was a song about it, I may have forgotten it. But then again, I can't remember what I said 5 minutes ago. Is she calling in?
Excellent.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear us any
Okay,
better?
that's clearer.
Okay,
Ah.
that's excellent.
We've cleared away the cobwebs. So, what can you tell us about
Yay.
yourself and how awesome you are?
What are your names again?
Brian?
I'm
Hi,
Chris.
Brian.
And I'm Beth, the one that originally contacted you. Unfortunately, our main host, Kevin, is not here at the moment. He's going to be coming in
Hi,
a little
Beth.
later.
And now you got to contend with me.
It's the B show.
Oh yes, it is the Brian, Baron, and Beth show.
There you go.
Oh, it is the
Wow.
3 Bs. There it
triple,
is.
The triple Bs.
I just realized that.
Triple B.
Coined.
So tell us about yourself.
That's so general.
Yeah, it's always the hardest
Well,
question.
the psychic thing especially, but but anything that you would want to tell somebody in an introduction.
Just that I have been working in this field of connecting with spiritual realm or realm outside of our third dimensional physical, what can be seen, touched, and heard realm for many years, and have had my own experiences, my own personal experiences since childhood, and so I'm not one of those people that I don't know how anybody could claim to be an expert because it's not something that can be
True.
Yeah.
proven, or just when you think that you have something figured out, there's so many different layers that come up after that. You never get to the bottom of any understanding about any of it. But I don't claim to be an expert, but
I already
I
like her.
just, and I don't want to ever go about it in a way that is like I'm wanting to convince someone to believe in it or to change their beliefs or to anything like that. I just want to share, my life, because it's been such a huge part of my life for so many years, and help answer questions for people that are curious, people that have had their own experiences that can't wrap their head around it, and just try to have conversations with people about it.
Okay.
that
The whole reason why I do what I do.
it's admirable to actually hear that, and I already like you because you have a very similar viewpoint to one of my favorite philosophers, Socrates, or is it Socrates? One way or the other.
So cool.
It was the idea
Oh, and
that
Bill and Ted.
Oh, of course, Bill and Ted. They're awesome. it was the statement that those that claim to know everything are the most ignorant, and those that claim to know nothing or know not enough are the most enlightened and intelligent.
Yeah.
You,
Very
my dear,
true.
are intelligent. Thank you. Beth, you got us a winner.
I
Thank
don't
you.
know about, I try my best to just be open-minded and to also understand in this, when you start to research and study and you have your own experiences and you're
Right.
kind of blown wide open like that, you realize how very minuscule we all are, and to think that we have anything figured out, that gets, blown out of the water pretty quickly when you look at anything having to do with galaxies and other planets and wormholes and all of this stuff that we still can't even grasp. We can't even explain how the pyramids were built. We can't even, there's so many things that are something that we're at this point where we are right now on the planet are never going to be able to truly explain or understand. So to sit there and act like, well, I've got the answers and I know exactly why this happens, or it's just, to me, that is very ignorant.
To say the least, ma'am, that is.
Wait, did you say we don't know how the pyramids were built? We know exactly how the pyramids were built.
Their arguments back and forth.
Aliens are
There's
not
people
a
that
reasonable
have their
answer. Stop it, Kevin.
they're built.
No, they're not. A large talented
just came in, by the way.
workforce is the answer. There's nothing paranormal or supernatural about it.
Our host has finally arrived. Amy, I'd like to introduce you to Kevin Mears, demonologist and all-around sneaky bastard that just came in right behind us.
Hi, Kevin.
Hello,
Yeah,
Amy.
we kind of just got started. We were going through the introduction, so you didn't miss too much.
Nope.
No.
But yeah,
So-
the pyramids are entirely easily explainable. We know exactly how they were built. It's never been a mystery.
What I think is the funny part of everything about why when we think that something is easily explained and all of that, and it's just every person. First of all, out of all of you guys, have you had your own experiences?
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Hands down.
I've been a practicing demonologist for 20 years, been trained by one of the best in the country. You have had quite a lot.
I actually haven't.
Okay, so
Our local skeptic is also the only mundane.
Yeah, I'm the mundane. I haven't had anything happen.
you will. I want to ask you guys, because it still happens for me with even how many I have had. It's our human nature to, as soon as we experience something, it's just like that human nature kicks in and we automatically, like there have been experiences that I have had that the next day I'm still just reeling from. And it just seems like it almost is like a balloon that's letting out air. It just seems like it gets less and less physical and less real, and then your mind jumps in and starts like, trying to question what it could have been, what it could have been. Did I really experience that? Was that this? Was that that? It's not, these experiences are not something that we, to me at least, can hold on to like a memory. You have a memory, a physical memory with another human being. That to me stays more palpable than the experiences that we're having with entities and spirits outside of physical dimensions, at least for me. And I feel like it is the human experience of when we think we have something figured out or can easily believe ourselves that something is because of something. It's that human reaction comes in immediately to start trying to just tear that apart somehow.
Yeah, it's
And
being
I think
rational.
that's
You
what
have
makes it
to.
hard for people to have their own experiences and to allow themselves to have more because of that. It's a big block.
But it's a good block. You don't want to rush and assume something's paranormal. You need to look at you start with a reasonable explanation. If it doesn't fit, then you eventually, when
That's very true.
you go with what's left, jumping to the paranormal is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
So
It's
what
very
is?
true. In my case, I don't, because of how much I have experienced since childhood. I just my first thing is to just I know the difference now between what is something that I can sense with all 6 of my senses and more, that is something that's not of physical or explainable in that sense.
That's understandable. With enough experiences, rationality immediately goes completely and totally, not so much past, but, I mean, if you know enough that a rational explanation for something moving while it's on the ground, okay, could be ground tremors one way or the other, but then if you see something flying off of a table and you know damn well that nothing was pushing it, yeah, you're going to immediately say paranormal.
Well, no, if something, I mean, if
Yeah.
something's clearly happening that's not physically possible.
Yeah.
I mean, if I hear a weird noise, I don't care how many times I've had paranormal things happen to me. If I hear a weird noise, my first response is, okay, what caused that bang I just heard? Not
Yeah.
a spirit did it.
You see, we have varying degrees of skepticism, Amy, and it's nothing against you one way or the other, because we also have Kevin.
Oh.
While he may sound like he's the hyper skeptic, believe it or not, he's one of the most open-minded people on the planet. He's just has had experiences with a lot of folks that will say it's the supernatural, and then, as it turns out, perfectly reasonable explanations.
Yeah,
So
and
it's-
that's understandable, and I actually respect the skeptics. That's something that is needed, and it keeps things within accountability. And if you're going to at all walk this path in life of whatever it is, whether you're just wanting to research more, or you're actually someone who's working in that field, or you're someone who's devoting your whole life to it, or whatever the extreme is of what you're doing, you're going to meet a skeptic every 5 minutes. So it's not something that can be taken personally, or you're gonna be really sad all the time,
Yeah.
That's understandable.
So what do you do? Like, what's can you explain kind of your process, or what your, I guess, day in the life, as far as
Well,
how this relates to it?
As far as connect what my experiences, you're saying, or?
Yeah, that, and you said that you were like helping, trying to help people, things like that. How do you do that?
Well, I think it's the thing that I had to learn as a child was, because everything was happening so strongly in those years of between, my first cognizant memory at 3. I remember when the eldest died, and I remember my parents' reaction, and I was just, maybe 3.5 at that time. So I remember that. So from that point until maybe around 12 years old, I was having so many experiences, and, all the women on my mom's side, my mother, my sister, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, all of them are the same. And then my aunts on my dad's side are all very, what they like to call, they use the term witchy, which is just having a sixth sense. The one thing that I had to realize as a kid was, I would just expect that everybody was able to sense and feel and see. And when I would come across people that had never had an experience, or didn't know what in the world I was talking about, or even more so judging me for it or whatever, it took a long time for me to realize, you're not picking up these things like I am. So the difference between me and people that I work with that are just having their own experiences, or have had enough in their lives that they can't explain it away anymore. They want to know more, they want to research, they want to get down to the bottom of it. Is that realization of, for whatever reason, I came in my little body as a child as just like this antenna that was just picking up a ton of stuff. So my experiences from the get-go were more communicative experiences. Dreams, visually seeing, hearing, feeling, having body reactions, these things. So mine were more those experiences as opposed to what you see and what I see on ghost hunting shows and things like that, where you're looking for a very physical, throw something across the room, or, knock 3 times on the wall or whatever, people are asking for in those situations. So with people now that come to me that want to open up more to that, I try to help them to focus on how to get more in tune with their body senses, so that, and more open in their mind and heart, and all the things that kind of have to be in alignment there in order to get past the mind. If you look at, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I know for people that I have met, people that go in, like if you're going in on a ghost tour or a paranormal experience or a ghost hunt or something like that, you see that there are people that are having a deeper experience or more of an experience, are the people that are more open. They're more lucid. Their brain's not, on lockdown of just trying to be cynical of everything and figure out everything. Like, they've let go of certain capacities of that in order to be more in the flow. And if you're going to believe that there are things in existence outside of this physical realm that are more energy-based and are not of physical matter, if you're going to go down that rabbit hole and believe that, then you should probably also help yourself to get to that space in order to communicate with them. Because if you are all in your mind and you are all in your logic and you're very, very physically anchored in that way, it's really going to put up a block as far as being able to expand on my experiences and have more experiences.
See, not only would I not agree with that at all, people that I've seen that go in with that mindset get fooled. I mean, I've gone on cases where people are very, very open, as you put it, and they're talking about cold spots when the air conditioning kicks in. They're talking about how oppressive the air is when the roof is bulging down to the point that when I'm only 5'10", I can't stand upright in the room. You need to keep. I don't agree with you at all. You need to keep the logical mind.
I don't understand about that one of the things that I think would make it very hard to even be able to have an experience to where you're not going to debunk it is when you're going into a specific place with that 100% in mind, that's all you're focused on. That's what you're there for. I don't get that myself because I practice every day being open in that. So I'm not. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're already going,
you keep your mind
thinking,
too open.
I want to have a
your brain
paranormal
falls
experience,
out,
and you're so focused on it.
Not necessarily,
It's gonna
Kevin.
be
And
very much.
actually, allow me to jump in. While Kevin is the demonologist and he has gone on exorcisms, ghost hunts, things like that, I was raised with various energy work and connectivity from the broom closet. And there is a difference between keeping yourself naively open and then there's actually being open but also having proper shielding up. I highly
definitely
doubt that Amy is talking about simply having people open up
We're
and
not
go in unprotected.
Talking about I'm not even talking about protected versus unprotected. I'm talking about the fact you have to keep a logical mind. You can't just keep your mind so open your brain falls out.
Logical mind. I said that you have to open, and if you're going to go down that road, then it very much should be in balance with both of them present. If you're going to want to have an experience where you want to be able to note it down as a definite experience, or you want to be able to debunk it and say it absolutely wasn't one,
Well, I think
you need to be in both.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
Open
I walk into a house.
to be able to experience
I go into
it.
a house with the assumption of it needs to demonstrate to me that there's something there. I don't assume there's anything in any house I walk into until I see something happen with my own eyes, and ideally either I get it on a photograph or I get it in an EVP, because people can tell me all the experiences they want, but I need to see it. If I didn't see it, it didn't happen.
Right.
True, although you have
that
to
is
keep an open mind.
That's your form of evidence, and for other people it's different for everyone. Some people, the only evidence they need is what they felt, and in their body. For some people, if they want to be touched. For some people, they want to audibly hear. For other people, they want something thrown. Everybody's point of evidence is different. It is relative, I think.
I think there's evidence and there's subjective feelings that aren't evident. I'm sorry, it's not evidence.
Yeah.
As far as how you go about things.
In terms of scientific terms, it's not evidence. In terms of if trying to help somebody and getting a priest involved, it's not evidence. In terms of a psychological reality of somebody may be mentally ill, well, I feel something in the house is not evidence. It's not a value. To me, there's no value in I feel something. You know, there's what my mentor Lou would say. You know, people would call us all the time and say, I get a terrible feeling in my attic. You know what we tell them? Don't go in your attic. We don't tell them you need a priest. We tell them don't go there anymore. So feelings are feelings. They're subjective. They're controlled by a million things, many of which are entirely natural and on the subconscious levels people aren't aware of. You walk into a house that has a low level of black mold growing in parts of it, and you'll get unpleasant feelings. You walk into a house that has extremely low frequencies, and you'll get feelings of extreme paranoia and that you're being watched and there's somebody there because your organs are literally liquefying and your body is telling you to get out. There's a reason I deal with what's objective, not subjective.
Yeah. And again, it's going to all go back to the type of thing that a person wants to experience. So what you're saying is very true. Your value is in evidence. That's what you need in order to feel that you have had a paranormal experience or that it's even real. That is not going to be the case for all of the planet. You know, if you go to different countries, and I've traveled to 13, 14 different countries. When you go to different countries, this ghost hunting and the paranormal obsession and all that is completely opposite of other countries' beliefs about experience and paranormal. If you go to Nepal, if you go to India, where naysayers are growing up in families, and that's what you go to for. I mean, for some of these countries, it's very, very to them, very real and very not needing scientific evidence, but more of needing a spiritual understanding in order to experience it, and it's respected and revered in that way.
Well, like
so
religion.
What I'm saying is that it's different everywhere, and for every person it is going to vary, and it doesn't make their experience any less real to say that you can't prove what their experience was. It doesn't. So that would be like you telling me, because I have a feeling that I love you, like I feel like I love you, you're going to make me prove that I love you by how? It's my feeling. It's in my heart. Now, if you're going to go off of that, it makes it difficult.
But there are people that suffer from mental illness and telling them, well, I feel a spirit in your house. You could be reinforcing a delusion and making something worse instead of better.
Say that again, because I only got the last part of your sentence.
The problem is, if you're going into somebody's house and they're having an experience, and that's, let's say, and this is a real thing that I've had happen on more than one case, the person doesn't have a spirit in the house, they're having some sort of mental delusion. By talking about feelings, well, I feel this, well, you feel this, and this is valid, you can be reinforcing a delusion and leaving that person worse off than they started.
I agree with you 100%, but my belief myself is that everything should be in balance, and to negate a feeling to me is just as detrimental as to say that we have to go into something with all feeling. And I'm just saying that there needs to be a balance in order to even feel or understand. I get feeling is the wrong word there. In order to go into a place, if somebody is calling you in, I don't get called in on those things. I wouldn't enjoy that, to be called in on people that are having paranormal experiences and want me to go to their house and see what is happening. Very rarely do I get approached for something of that nature. And it is something that if you were to do that, and I have done it in the past, if you were to do it, you do have to go in with, your logic and a clear head of wanting to be able to get down to the bottom of everything possible that could be the possibilities of why this is happening, you do want to assess whether that person is in mental distress or if there is something going on in that person that you can pick up on that has to do with something way other than having a supernatural or a paranormal experience. And all of those things take both. They take you using your feelers and feelings and also using your mind and intellect in order to do that. So I agree with that fully. I just feel like it has to have a balance.
I don't agree at all.
And that's good.
I mean, relying on feelings like this
You
doesn't
gotta,
help. It
Well, to be
doesn't
fair, you-
make us look more credible as a field. It doesn't. It
Well,
doesn't.
here's the thing, Kevin.
Yeah.
You also approach it from a different perspective than a different mannerism, because as she has just said, she doesn't go in the same way that you do. Your main thing when you go into somebody's house is
But
to see
this
there's an
doesn't.
entity.
This kind of talk and this emphasis on feelings runs the risk of reinforcing people's delusion, which I can't support.
and your kind of talk runs the risk of closing people down because the only thing you see as valuable is a form of evidence. that
Is
good
something
enough
that's
for you
objectively
to be
demonstrable.
able to
Yes.
say that is real.
And I'd
So
rather
I'm
shut.
just
You know
saying
what?
there
I
needs
would
to be
rather shut
balance.
people down than reinforce delusions and risk somebody going to a psychiatric institution because they've been convinced
And
that
how many times
that
have
the
you seen
voices
that
in their head are a
happen?
spirit, not not a symptom of schizophrenia.
My point is, and I 100% respect your belief and your opinion 100%. I'm not trying to change it. I'm just saying for me, in my belief, I believe there has to be both and it needs to be in balance.
Which I'm sorry, I neither agree with nor I can't even honestly say I respect that opinion.
So that's your choice. I'm not here to try to convince you of anything.
Well,
So,
it is a good thing that in the world today, we all have varying viewpoints, perceptions, and practice on how we approach all things. With
That's the way the
I
world
think-
works or should work.
I think at
very
this
true.
point we should call this a night on the interview. Just continue.
well, Kevin, well, here's the thing. You've been going about your perspective.
There's
Yes.
it's a question of what I'm sorry, but no. At this point, there's a question of what I'm willing to use the show to put forward and what I'm not, and this is something I'm not willing to put forward. I apologize, Amy, but you and I are very different perspectives, and I will not promote a perspective I see as potentially psychologically damaging to people on this show.
now,
Thank you.
so
So that was awkward.
Yeah. Maybe we should take a quick break.
we'll be back in a few with Paranormal Encyclopedia.
And we're back. Brian, put your phone away. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Like I said, I don't normally try to be harsh on our guests. There's just certain things I don't like to deal with. And I'm not a big fan of psychics. I never have been. And the touchy-feely, I feel there's a spirit here thing, I've seen it go wrong way too many times.
I suppose I to just take the opposing view. What I would say is, to me, it's exactly like religion. Like when somebody goes on about touchy-feely Christianity, I have the exact same reaction, but you're okay with that. So it's just a little inconsistent.
But there's a difference between religion, where there's an understanding that what you're dealing with is a degree of belief, and dealing with another situation where you're saying something is like, no, I could demonstrate, something is real, something's demonstratable. Supposedly, from what Beth told me, this woman's like advised the police on cases and things of that. You need to be able to, if you're going to do that, you need to do better than I feel.
Well, yeah. I mean, she was talking about how it was an experience for her, how she felt things, stuff like that. But that's exactly the same way most people describe faith. I think there's I don't know. It seemed to me from an outside perspective. I mean, it's kind of a hot button for you.
Yeah.
And I get that. And I think that's kind of what happened, is we had two, just not very compatible.
Telling people there's a God out there doesn't land as many people in psych hospital as telling people the voices in your head are spirits, not that you need antipsychotic medication.
No,
that would be the difference.
No, that's true. Although there are plenty of religious delusions out there. There are people that, if you were to say, well, I've seen angels, or I talked to angels.
And I'd ask the same questions.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, if you
fair.
claim to have seen something, if you claim that something has an objective reality, you need to do better than I feel.
Right, but you're not going to question that angels exist just based on the fact that they can't produce a Polaroid of
believing
of
something
angel.
exists in a general terms and believing you can't talk to something is two different things, though. You believe as well as I do, I think, that there's alien life somewhere in the universe. Yes?
Yeah, certainly.
Do you think that they come and
possibility
talk to
strongly
people
exists.
here? You see the difference?
That I don't know. That I can't answer.
But one doesn't.
I can't
believing
say
one doesn't
objectively-
logically translate into the other.
No, and that's true. I can't say that they don't. I don't think that they do. I don't think that we're interesting enough for aliens to be making that that trip. Considering like the nearest other habitable planet's got to be at least what, like
4.4 light years.
4.4 light years. Okay, so
And there's no evidence that there's intelligent life around the nearest planet. So
Right, the
if
nearest
there is
star,
intelligent life, and I'm not saying there isn't
4-year
intelligent
trip
life.
is a
There
long
probably is intelligent life somewhere else in the universe. But wherever it is, if it exists, it's extremely far away, because in decades of looking for it, we have found no radio signals, no television signals, no evidence. That doesn't mean the evidence doesn't exist. We've only been looking for a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. If there's a highly advanced civilization 100 light years away from here, we're not going to know about it.
at least
They're
not
not
for
going to know
another-
about it.
not for a long time until the signals reach
Because
us.
the signals that we're sending out, traveling at the speed of light, the fastest things traveling at the speed of light take 100 years at the speed of light to get something 100 light years away.
Right.
And vice versa.
So we have to hope that they're on a level to understand it and respond back.
And there's also the reality, like, say, probably farther than 100 light years. At the nearest light, there could have been a highly advanced civilization that lived and died so far away, we haven't even picked up the signals yet, and they are already extinct.
Yeah. No, I'm just for me, it's just social awkwardness. I always try to be polite, even when even when I disagree with somebody, and don't necessarily.
The
see
problem
with their thing, I try to be polite.
I get that, but for me particularly, this field has a lot of issues, and a lot of people tend to see us as nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm protective of keeping the credibility of the field as high as it can, and relying on evidence gives it more credibility than relying on feeling.
And that's fair, I suppose.
And totally understandable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry I don't like cutting guests off, but it's like she went down rabbit holes I won't support with the show.
That's understandable. I mean, you know what? There's varying things in the world. People believe, people feel, how they approach that practice one way or the other. Yeah, a lot of it could be considered questionable. A lot of it could be considered nefarious, and many times, it's all well-meaning. But at the same time, though, yeah, I can understand definitely where you're coming from on it. I'm not in any way contesting, because you know what? I've been a victim of it myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know what? It's a if anything, it's a good bolster to a secondary viewpoint, which awareness and and information is never a
True.
bad thing. It's never a bad thing. It's a viewpoint that's expressed. Okay, fine. You know what? I mean, the thing is that there are still people that believe that some dude came over into the United States and thinks that the Garden of Eden was in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay, with zero proof one way or the other.
There's a whole series of odd beliefs out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also a reason I don't have conspiracy theorists on this show. I don't have people talking about the Mormon beliefs about how there was a highly advanced civilization here long before the Europeans ever settled.
Of course, it was Atlantis. Don't you know this? Come on. No, and you know what? We're not
It was the
equating.
Native Americans.
We're not equating anybody's belief systems one way or the other to anything that has been flat out proven to be myth. But you know what? The thing is that all beliefs, all perceptions, one way or the other, it's very much. And you know what? I'm going to go down the dirty route. Can I go down the dirty route?
Go down the dirty
just
route.
to offer a little bit of levity here. Okay. Having a belief is very much like having a penis. It's very cool to be proud of it, and admire it. But please don't wave it in our face or shove it down our throats. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just plain simple. And that's my viewpoint with any and all beliefs, belief structures and reasonings, is that we're all entitled to them, and as long as we're attempting to do good with them, so be it. I mean, you're talking to a lapsed Satanist here.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, somebody that blatantly follows a particular pathway that is meant to be considered sinister, yet at the same time, I do good with it.
And let's face it, the sinister is was Anton LaVey flipping his nose at religion.
And you know what the thing is that I may be sinister, but we have the best parties, and we serve the best beer.
We still need.
Although I
that
do feel
show
it's
on
worth
Crowley.
getting back to something we were on at one point, which is the pyramids.
Oh boy. Okay.
do we-
No.
do we-
Let's leave that alone, Kev. Okay. Let's leave the tombs alone.
Oh, why? But why?
Just
They're
for
interesting.
now. There are several different perceptions throughout the world as
But-
to what the pyramids are and what their
Well,
purposes
no.
are.
What they are and what they aren't is one thing, but how they were built is well understood. And there's a lot of
Zahi was one of the greatest.
myths about
Yes.
there's things that we know about them that people get wrong. One, yes, they know they were built. It's called skilled laborers, and a lot of them over a long period of time.
True.
And in point of fact, there are false starts. There are mistakes that were made. There was a pyramid that was built upside down by mistake.
Yeah.
The main reason a lot of the ones that weren't that well built aren't around anymore is because they weren't that well built. They were taken down and
They fell apart.
they
Yeah,
used
were
it for something more
materials.
useful. It's like, if you built it, it falls apart. Why are you going to keep the fallen apart ruin instead of trying again? Or for that matter, using it for something more productive.
Indeed.
But the other thing, we know how they were built. And another common myth, yes, we can it's not even entirely possible, but it's relatively easy to build a pyramid using modern technology.
Modern, yes, but back then.
Also completely
Well, no,
possible. The technology isn't the hard part. The manpower is the hard part.
that
And
I'll give
the Egyptians had the manpower.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Whole
The
nations
Mayans
would
had
take-
the manpower.
would
the
take
people that did it had
day off.
The only people that did it are the people that had the manpower.
Oh yeah, and you know what I mean. The thing is that rudimentary geometry, one way or the other, is exactly how those were built.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the simple realities, people
Lot of
ask,
ramps.
why are pyramids found all over the world? Because there are pyramids in China, there are pyramids in Mexico, there are pyramids in Egypt.
It's one of the easiest geometrical shapes to create.
Not that, just that. It's the most stable of all natural structures. If you look, when a structure collapses, it generally falls into the shape of a pyramid.
Yes. No
It is
arguing
extreme.
that.
The ancient people were very smart and realized this is a stable structure.
It's a prevailing argument that has consisted to this very day. Just because they're old don't mean they're dumb. Remember that, okay?
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
because I'm old don't mean I'm dumb.
And here's the other thing about it that I think is important. There are lots of legitimate mysteries in the ancient world of how the devil did they do that. They get overshadowed by saying, "Oh well, how did they build the pyramid?" You want a good question? Who built Stonehenge?
The Druids.
No,
No, it actually
they are
predates the
hundreds
Druids.
of years older than the Druids.
Yeah, that one's a tough one because that stuff was carted for like miles and miles.
Yeah.
And those are big, heavy stones, and they didn't have a lot of like skilled laborers around.
You mean to tell me that they didn't shrink them down like they did in Spinal Tap and have them
Yeah.
dance around a stage?
that was the best one.
That was the best one, yes.
Well, there's also the legend that Merlin moved them using magic from Scotland.
That's the popular magical explanation.
You want to know what? I think they were just part of a much larger and much more uniform structure that just eventually collapsed, and the only thing we're left with is just those
Well, there were-
those
'cause
tie
there-
symbols.
There's
actually-
definitely more to it than what's there
Well,
originally.
And there are other places other than Stonehenge that have similar kinds of structures.
Stonehenge is the most famous. It's not even
not
the
the
only
only-
one in that part of England.
It's
No,
the
they
greatest
have a bunch
henge
of
in
them.
the world. Nobody's built a henge since. Nobody knows what the hell a henge is. Yes, to quote Eddie Izzard, yes, it's a great henge. Grabbed all the stones from Glastonbury. They probably hired a bunch of people down there and just said, "Oh, well, we're going to be building a henge. Oh, we're going to be building a henge. It sounds like a great idea. Yes. All right. Move them a little bit. Oh, it's not far, is it? 30,000
interesting
miles later,
question.
you know.
Was Glastonbury Abbey Avalon?
Or
Because at one time,
Santorini, Atlantis.
is that the island that resembles Atlantis
Yeah.
That's the lovely little ring of islands. It's kind of,
with the volcano? And,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know, I mean, similar structures and similar, land masses. Okay, that's one thing. But then again, some people once said that Minos was actually considered to be, not Minos,
Crete.
Crete.
was considered to be Atlantis. But then they just found a recent structure out in northwestern Africa that is concentric in circles. At one point had water surrounding all of it. And seemed to be a rather
matched a lot of the descriptions.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the most interesting things with Atlantis. Did it exist at all? Because if you read, Plato was the one who wrote about it.
Plato was the one that wrote about
Plato-
it, and Socrates overheard it.
Yeah. All right. So Socrates is the one who wrote it down, but it's from Plato.
Yeah, but what happened was Plato was
something like
having
that.
Plato was having dinner with a couple of other philosophers of the age.
Yeah.
All right, as you normally do, just sitting around a campfire yammering up. Socrates is a very young boy, way past his bedtime, sneaks around a column and takes a gander and overhears the story about a land that is technologically advanced, and here's the description, and he tries to recount it from his childhood, what he remembered hearing. And this is why a lot of the record is so spotty. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like the bits that he can remember.
It actually first appears in Plato's writings.
Was it
And then
Plato's?
Socrates
Yeah.
picks it up. But the thing is, when Plato originally wrote about it, he treated it as a work of fiction. He didn't actually
Yeah.
treat it as a real place. Now, granted, it's not unreasonable to assume that it's based on a real place. And there's that island. What's the name of it again?
Santorini.
There's Santorini. There's this place in Africa that sounds like it might match as
Yeah,
well.
there's Crete.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
there
Crete.
was a lot of stuff that was written back in the day that seemed to be fictional, and then it turned out to be real. I mean,
Yeah.
Troy, for God's
Yeah,
sakes.
they found Troy
found
after
Troy.
thinking it was
True, but the
fictional.
but as far as I know, Homer didn't claim Troy was fiction. Plato claimed Atlantis. Well, I mean,
No, but they
the
don't
point
know.
of Atlantis and he really acknowledges it. It was to illustrate ideas he had about government.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be a true history of something.
Well, back then, didn't they tell all examples of how things would be factual through allegory and story.
Yeah, that would be the other thing.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
history was a very different subject. Back
So no,
Yeah.
I think it's very reasonable that there probably is Santorini or this place in North Africa or something else that inspired parts of Atlantis. The more outlandish stories about it being this center of high technology and magic, I find questionable.
Well, I mean, in regards to, its destruction, one way or the other, kind of gives us an idea as to where it could possibly be. I mean, for a while, people were thinking it was Pompeii.
Yep, and for that matter, there's the long-standing theory that was basically between Africa, a continent between Africa and South America, to explain why the continents of Africa and South America fit together. Of course, we've ultimately realized, no, that's Pangea.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there isn't something out there that inspired Plato and later and Socrates
sure.
and others. Works.
Maybe it was Greenland at one point. Greenland could have been just a bit further south and actually lived up to its
Well,
name.
here's a
It was
real
Australia.
question.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Pyrenees map?
That sounds familiar.
Okay, so there is a map called the Pyrenees map. It is an incredibly complete map of the world that shows the coastlines of all 7 continents.
Oh, yeah.
And when I say all 7 continents, I don't mean the ice of Antarctica. I mean the actual land that is under that ice. It shows those continents that we've only recently managed to confirm with satellite imaging. Because, as I'm sure our listeners know, being smart people, Antarctica is an actual landmass. It's not
Yes.
just the ice.
Right.
And how the devil did people in ancient times know the coastlines?
Well, it would have had to have been when the ice wasn't there.
But the map isn't that old.
Oh.
How old is it?
I'll have to look it up. Let me see. But as I recall, it's not as old as... there's a definite, wait, what the hell about that map?
Yeah. I mean, cartographers back in the day used to infer a lot and use relatively
We are getting
decent
close to
logic.
the end.
The Piri race map.
Just so you know.
1513 for military intelligence by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis.
Nice.
Sometimes, the most ancient of records are accurate to this day. I mean, wasn't there like a measurement at one point that was taken of...
Yeah, Eratosthenes
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
of the Earth.
And
20
as it turns out, it was like, what? Only 3
200
kilometers
B-
off?
200 BC, Aristosthenes, who was the chief librarian of the Library of Alexandria, made a measurement using shadows and a pole stuck in the ground, while another person some distance away did the same thing, calculated the diameter of the Earth within about 1%.
Yeah, that's obnoxiously insane accuracy.
Yeah,
Although we might want to wrap
because
up.
we are at just about the end of the hour.
Well, no problem then. I will give you our lovely little sponsorship message from our second sponsor, which is NordVPN. And I will turn on my game show host voice because that's what I'm good at. Sounds good to me. So let me tell you about NordVPN, okay? There's tons of security concerns out there. People wanting to be able to access the internet in places where, frankly, you know what? It's a bit more regulated than, it is here out in the United States. Sometimes you don't want to have that extra set of eyes over your shoulder checking it out. Well, there's this company, it's called NordVPN. They hook you up. They actually get you to be able to hook into websites that you normally wouldn't be able to and connect to the internet in places where you normally wouldn't be allowed to. Because what it does is it acts as a second, as like an intermediary is the best way to put it. You hook into there and then you can access the internet. No issue, no muss, no fuss, no security issues one way or the other. And you could access this from mobile devices, from your tablet, cell phone, the whole 9, no matter what your operating system is. If you want to look at streaming media, you name it, it hooks you right up. Now, they've even got some monetary plans that if you're a little bit tight on the cash, they hook you up. For a month, it's $11.95 down. They got 3-year plans for like $275 a month. That's cheap. Or am I wrong? Isn't that cheap?
Yeah.
And the best part is that when you're actually using the service, nothing can crack this. All right. I've worked for DoD, network security. I've seen the encryption. It's military grade, right up. All right. You cannot hack this stuff, no matter how much you'd like to try. And I strongly suggest it. I myself use it. I'm sure you guys would.
Yep, I use
There
it.
you go. Okay.
If I could afford it.
Hey, we're radio hosts. We don't
Yeah.
make that much.
We're
You know,
broke.
those of us that can, we do. You know, and it's certainly a service I would recommend. And seriously, check it out. The link is down below. You can check it out. Let us know your experiences of it in the comments down below. If you actually, you know, have some good experiences with it, I'm sure you do. But that's basically it for NordVPN.
Okay, folks, that's going to do it for tonight. I want to remind everybody, if you enjoy what we're doing, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing you can do to help the show. It only takes you a couple of seconds. Hop over to YouTube, youtube.com/c/paranormal encyclopedia. You can do it there. You'll also find email and all the other information in the description. If you need to reach out, if you have a question, concern, comment, want to suggest a guest for that matter.
Go
And
ahead.
if you've got a couple of bucks, always consider supporting us either through patreon.com/demonology, patreon.com/demonology, or through gofundme.com/paranormal-encyclopedia, gofundme.com/paranormal-encyclopedia.
Don't we got a Twitter?
Yes, we do have a Twitter.
We got a
which
Twitter.
is the Paranormal Encyclopedia Show.
There you go.
So you can reach out to us there as well. Keep in mind, we have the opportunity to go to 2 hours next month, but we do need support to make that happen.
So that will totally depend on you folks. If we do that, we'll still be around. We'll still be doing a 1 hour format.
If we don't make it, we'll just keep to an hour and we'll try and do it sometime down the road.
Sounds good to us. But you know what? Hook us up. We'll be sure to be able to make it all worth your while. We'll make him dance. We'll make him smile. We'll make me shut up.
Now that'll be the challenge right there.
Good luck.
That's not happening.
But that's going to do it for tonight. This is Kevin Mears saying good night and God bless.
Brian McKinley, still searching for a sign out line.
And of course, this is Baron Voltage, a.k.a. Christopher Ryan, telling you, avoid lightning rods, please, for the love of all that you hold dear and deities.
And live long and prosper since Brian won't do it no more. Good night, everyone.